Our next speaker is the founder and chief strategy officer of TRICENTIS, a company developing enterprise software testing products. He and his team have never been loud about this fact, but TRICENTIS was the first Austrian unicorn. I welcome Wolfgang Platz, who is not only an entrepreneur, but also a business angel, and he has a strong opinion on the Austrian spin-off ecosystem. Wolfgang, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes.
All good? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, thanks for the intro. As already mentioned, I'm the founder and chief strategy officer of TRICENTIS. TRICENTIS is active in the software quality assurance space. We are producing products for software testing, software test automation in particular. And I would like to give you a brief overview of what has happened since I founded this company, and I hope you find it interesting. Let me start it up with a little glimpse in history. In 1999, I started programming the products that we are selling today. And why did I do this? This is how I felt. Whenever we came up with software test automation based on the products that were out there back then, these software tests would crumble very, very quickly. The maintenance of the software tests was so high that in most of the cases, the software test automation didn't make any sense. So it was really like this picture, Sisyphus trying to walk up the stone and he falls back. So I decided to do it differently and try to resolve this topic, which is actually what drove us. It was about the democratization of this software test automation topic. And we had this great logos ahead of us that all talk about democratization. We also wanted to do that as a part of the software testing industry. And that is one thing I want to emphasize here, which you have heard others talk about already today, which is you want to make meaning when you start a business. It doesn't start with the anticipation or the desire or willingness to become famous and rich. It really starts with trying to do something here that makes meaning for the industry you're working on. And we founded TRICENTIS in 2007. TRICENTIS, from the name comes, actually, it is Latin. It's TRICENTIS. TRICENTIS is 300. What we did back then is we were all aware of this movie 300. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that anymore. This talks about the Spartans who were able to keep Persian King Xerxes out of Greece back in ancient history. And this is how we actually felt, like 300 warriors, which we wanted to become once. We were way smaller back then. Trying to fight the big incumbent, which was HP back then, really dominating the market. And what you see here is that we already conceded the bubble, so to say. We allowed ourselves to live in a bubble of once becoming relevant, even though we didn't all believe the story yet, I need to admit. So, and what happened then is we were starting our business 2007. I was able to get Franz Fuchsberger with me as the co-founder and chief sales officer. And we had success in Austria and Germany already. This success gave us some reputation. And the next really important step in the company was 2009, when we were called Cool Vendor by Gartner. For you guys who don't know Gartner, Gartner is the #1 analyst out there. This is like a rating agency, so to say, for technology. If Gartner says you're cool, you're doing great stuff, a lot of people are going to believe that. And Gartner is the most important technology analyst, 75% market share back then. So when Gartner recommended us, all of a sudden the phone started ringing. People were willing to invest in TRICENTIS. And that was certainly something great, because all of a sudden we had access to money. However, we did not go for that investment because our tax accountant back then was very, very strictly recommending not to do it, saying, hey, no money is more expensive than the money of an investor. And there's truth to that, okay? And I'm going to come to that in a second later. So let's see how the story continues. In 2010, all of a sudden, there were two people popping up in our office saying that they wanted to do business in Australia. An Austrian and a Swiss guy even came with a full-blown business case telling, hey, we want to market your product in Australia. And we went for that, and it was a great success story. 6 months after opening the office, we already had revenues. And with that tailwind, we were enthusiastic. We thought, okay, now we're going to conquer the world going forward. And we opened offices in the UK and then also in the United States. But then we got the damper. Bam. After growing into 2011, all of a sudden we were flat. We hit kind of a glass ceiling. We did not manage to bring the benefits of our offering really into the market of UK and the United States. And why is that the case? We heard about Audi today from Georg, who is a partner of them, but I brought it up because of this tagline here, Vorsprung durch Technik, right? The tagline Vorsprung durch Technik is used even in the United States, right? They're using that as a synonym for the technical excellence of German cars. And people buy Audi with that statement. So we thought that technical excellence is actually the attribute that we want to provide to the US market as well, selling our product. But what we did not understand back then, that is Audi Vorsprung durch Technik doesn't understand. Nobody understands that tagline. It is an emotion that people buy that comes with that, right? And this is also true for BMW when they talk about the ultimate driving machine. This is technology which represents an emotion. So we had to understand that selling in the United States is completely different compared to selling here in Europe. And having hit this chasm, I don't know if you're familiar with this analogy of a chasm when you try to really go into the majority, we hit kind of a glass ceiling here. We could not grow anymore, and we had to change the way we were selling in order to get through this glass ceiling. So before we did that, in order to break through, we had to accept that money is getting short. And we had to take one of those phone calls. All of a sudden, it was not about wanting to have an investor. All of a sudden, it was about needing to have an investor because US became very expensive for us. And we did that finally, right? But before we go into that, let me share some of the Austrian thinking with you, and I want to demystify that also, okay? So there's one quote, from the rich you can learn how to save money. That is a quote that I've heard very, very often, and I want to comment on that quote in a second. And there's another one, which I even like better, which is, I do not own anything, however, that's all mine. And I think we see that very often here in Austria. So what we had to accept is that there is some pretty narrow-minded view happening here, and we need to overcome that. So one is, from the rich you can learn how to make money, not to save money, guys, okay? It is about investing. You're never going to get rich by saving money. You're only going to get rich by making money. And the other one is, you want to ask yourself, who do you want to be in the long run? Do you want to be a chief of a tribe with 25 people running your own business? Or would you rather want to be a general with 15,000 of reports, but you still have to report to somebody? Okay, why do I bring this up? You want to be ready to divide and conquer. If you go for a startup, if you really go for entrepreneurship, the days where you will be fully the one having control about the entire business, these days are kind of gone. So we decided that we need to divide and conquer, and we need to accept an investor coming in order to drive the business forward. And when you are deciding for an investor coming in, then have a look at what you need to give and have a look at what you're supposed to get when you select that investor, because it's not just shares that you provide to this investor. You also will have to give additional risk mitigation, like a liquidation preference and some preferred rights to this investor. So it is pretty expensive, even beyond the shares that you provide to an investor. On the other hand, you get money, and hopefully you get access to an ecosystem that's going to provide even more money, but also you want to have advice from them and a network. Be very, very distinct and diligent in checking whether you can get this advice and network. We have not always made good experiences with that. So long story short, in 2012, we took on Viewpoint Capital Canada as an early investor. And when I did this, I remember having been at this famous cafe in Vienna, which you may know, and all of a sudden on the other table there were some competition sitting there, right? And this was a coincidence because I was listening to what the table was talking without them seeing me, and what they said, look at this, it's nimmens den Platz die Firma weg, meaning he's now forced to give up on TRICENTIS and this is going to go nowhere. Well, that did not happen. So what we did as a consequence of this investment, we appointed a CEO in the US, and we really went for the United States because the US has more than 50% of the world's revenue in what we're doing. And through Sandeep, who showed us how to sell, together with some sales guys, some great sales guys in the US, we were able to turn the ship around. And we went back into this track of growth, starting in 2014, 15, 16. And at the end of 16, given that trajectory, Insight Ventures invested $165 million US. And that was really opening up a new dimension for us, because all of a sudden there was money. And with that money on the background, we were able to grow significantly faster. We were able to do things we had never been able to do before. We were able to go for mergers and acquisitions. We bought ourselves additional products, additional companies. And with that tailwind, we were able to drive the growth even further. And now I need to scale this down because it would not fit into the scale anymore. Because what happened then was growth in 2018, 19, 20, and 50 and 2021, where we are now supposed to cross the 210 million euros. And that is something we're super excited about, even though we have also had some effect of COVID, of the COVID crisis to our business. Not too much, actually. So the money, the significant money at the right time when you're about to grow is really going to boost it. If you're stalling, it's not the right time to get money. We had to take the money back then in 2011 because otherwise we would have been out of business. So where are we today? We are really enterprise focused. We have more than 2,000 customers worldwide. We are there in all the top logos of the industries. We are endorsed by the analysts as leaders by Gartner, Forrester, and IDC. And we have a strong partner ecosystem that is promoting ourselves. With that, I want to close it and just condense some recommendations, some advice for you. The first one is make meaning. That's more important than make money. Money will follow when you really succeed in making meaning. Then number two is concede the bubble. You need to be able to live in this bubble of becoming relevant once. However, you want to still remain grounded and want to exchange. We have heard that from the speaker before. Make sure that you talk to others and don't make the bubble the only thing that you see. And last but not least, talk to investors when you grow and not when you do not grow anymore, because otherwise you will not be able to really boost your business forward. And that's it.